Right now, there are about a dozen cameras sitting on the surface of the moon. They have been there for more than 50 years. No one is going back for them. These cameras took some of the most famous photographs ever made. The first bootprint in the gray dust, the blue earth hanging in a black sky, human beings standing on another world. And the instant those pictures were taken, the astronauts opened the cameras, pulled out the film, and left the bodies behind to save weight for the journey home. This is the story of the Hasselblad, a camera born from the wreckage of a war that became the eye of humanity at its greatest moment, and then was abandoned there. It was built by a small company in Sweden. It was born out of a war. It became the most trusted camera in the world, and then it carried humanity's eyes to the moon and stayed. This is the story of the Hasselblad, Chapter 1. A better camera. In 1940, in wartime Sweden, the military came into possession of a sophisticated German aerial surveillance camera, said to have been recovered from a downed German plane. They wanted one of their own. So they went to a 34-year-old Swede who ran his family's photographic trading business, a man with no factory and a reputation for being impossible to satisfy. His name was Victor Hasselblad. As the story goes, the military asked him a simple question: "Can you build a camera like this German one?" Victor's answer became legend. "No, not one like that, but I can build a better one." He was not bluffing. Within a year, he delivered the HK-7, an aerial camera for the Swedish Air Force. By the end of the war, his small workshop had built hundreds of cameras for the military. Victor Hasselblad was a perfectionist to the point of obsession. He believed a camera should be a precise instrument, something closer to a fine watch than a consumer product. When the war ended, he turned that obsession toward a single idea: the perfect camera for everyone else. In 1948, Victor Hasselblad unveiled his first civilian camera, the 1600F. It was unlike almost anything else on the market. A compact, square, medium-format camera built as a modular system from the ground up. The lens came off, the viewfinder came off, and the back, the film magazine, came off too. So a photographer could swap from color to black and white in the middle of a shoot in seconds. Everything was interchangeable. Everything was a building block. It produced a large, square 6x6 centimeter negative, far bigger than 35mm film, with a level of detail that professionals dreamed of. But there was a problem. The 1600F was built around a delicate, fast focal plane shutter, and it was not reliable. Cameras came back for repair. For a perfectionist like Victor, this was unbearable. The idea was right. The system was brilliant. The machine just wasn't perfect yet. The answer arrived in 1957. The Hasselblad 500C moved the shutter out of the body and into the lens itself, a leaf shutter built by the German optics house Comper, behind glass made by Zeiss. It was quieter, simpler, and almost indestructible. The 500C was not the cheapest camera. It was far from it. But it was arguably the most reliable precision camera ever built, and it became the standard for professionals who could not afford to fail. Fashion, advertising, portraiture, landscape. The square Hasselblad frame became a signature. You could recognize a photograph taken on one. Victor had finally built it, the instrument that did exactly what it promised, every single time. Which is precisely why, a few years later, it would be trusted with something no camera had ever been asked to do. The Hasselblad did not get to space through a contract, or a committee, or a billion-dollar deal. It got there because an astronaut walked into a camera store. In 1962, NASA astronaut Walter Schirra, an amateur photographer, bought a Hasselblad 500C off the shelf at a shop in Houston. He stripped it down himself, painted it black to cut reflections, and carried it aboard his Mercury capsule. The photographs he brought back stunned NASA. The clarity, the depth, the color, no camera NASA had tried came close. And so a quiet decision was made. Inside the American space program, when human beings finally went to the moon, they would see it through a Swedish viewfinder. NASA and Hasselblad rebuilt the camera for space. They stripped away everything unnecessary: the leather, the reflex mirror, the viewfinder. Astronauts in pressurized gloves couldn't squint through an eyepiece anyway. They would shoot from a bracket on the chest. They painted some bodies silver to survive the brutal swings of lunar temperature. Carl Zeiss built special wide-angle biogon lenses, and inside NASA added a thin glass plate etched with a grid of tiny crosses, the Rezo plate. Those little crosses, scattered across every Apollo photograph, let scientists measure distances and angles on the lunar surface. If you have ever seen a photo from the moon, with faint black plus signs floating across it, that is a Hasselblad's fingerprint. On Christmas Eve 1968, the crew of Apollo 8 became the first humans to orbit the moon. As they came around its far side, they saw something no one had ever seen: the Earth rising over the lunar horizon. William Anders grabbed the Hasselblad and took the photograph we now call Earthrise, a small blue planet, alone in the dark. It is often called the most influential photograph ever taken. 7 months later, on July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 landed, and nearly every iconic image of that day, the bootprint, the flag, Buzz Aldrin's golden visor, was taken on a Hasselblad. For most of human history, people could only imagine what we looked like from the outside. A Swedish camera showed us. There is a quiet irony in those photographs. The lenses that captured the moon were made by Carl Zeiss, the legendary German optics house. Zeiss would all but stop making cameras of its own. Its camera division closed its doors in 1972, but before that, Zeiss glass went to the moon and brought back the defining images of the 20th century. These were not just pretty pictures, they were proof. For a doubting, divided world, the Hasselblad photographs were the evidence that human beings had actually stood on another world. Images so sharp, so detailed, that they answered a question humanity had been asking since it first looked up. But here is the part most people never hear. Every gram mattered on the way home. The lunar module could only lift so much weight off the surface, and the astronauts were bringing back something far more precious than the cameras: the exposed film. So on each mission, they kept the film magazines and left the camera bodies on the moon. To this day, 12 Hasselblad cameras remain on the lunar surface, exactly where they were set down. Their work finished, their film long gone. They took the most important photographs in human history, and as a reward, they were left in the silence and the dust, pointed at nothing, forever. Victor Hasselblad did not chase the spotlight. He was a lifelong birdwatcher who once said the cameras were just a way to photograph the birds he loved. He died in 1978. He had no children. He left his fortune to a foundation that still funds scientific research today. The company he built kept making medium-format cameras, still expensive, still precise, still the choice when an image has to be perfect. But Victor's strangest monument isn't in a museum, or a gallery, or a collection. It is a dozen small machines scattered across the surface of another world that will outlast every photograph they ever took, and every person who ever looked at one. Think about the journey. A German wartime camera ends up in Swedish hands. A perfectionist with no factory says, "I can build a better one." And a few decades later, his machine is standing on the moon, having taken the pictures that let all of us see our own planet for the first time. The images came home. They are everywhere now, in textbooks, on walls, in the memory of anyone who has seen them. The cameras did not come home. They are still up there, in a place with no weather and no time, where a footprint and a fingerprint can last 1,000,000 years. We left our eyes on the moon, and through them, we finally saw ourselves. If you made it this far, subscribe. We tell the stories behind the cameras that changed everything: the wars, the gambles, the obsessions, and what they left behind. Next time, the little camera that taught the world to shoot from the hip and made the modern photograph small enough to change history.